There are a lot of systems in Ashes of Creation, and many of the systems are interconnected and reliant on the other systems and core design philosophies of the game to function. This is a big difference between Ashes and the current popular MMOs, especially the theme park WoW clone MMOs. When you look at a game like WoW, it is truly built as a modular game. You could remove quite a few features and the game would be fine. You could completely remove PvP from the game and the game would still function just fine for PvE only players. Therefore, with a game like WoW, you can easily have PvE and PvP servers with zero issues. Of course, the WoW mentality constantly leaks into Ashes of Creation conversations, with people thinking Ashes can easily add or remove key features just like can be done with WoW. As for PvP is built into the game so extensively that the idea that they could easily make a PvE server is completely flawed.
Perhaps the developers should just consider two types of servers, AOC PvE servers and AOC PvP servers.
To remove PvP, you have to remove corruption. You have to make the open world impromptu PvP systems like caravans PvE only, which takes away from the system entirely and makes it incredibly boring very quickly. Which nodes become the dominant nodes on the server becomes a race, as nodes can't be sieged or destroyed. It just wouldn't work at all. The game is not built to make that change, and trying to accommodate for a change like that means a complete redesign of nearly every single system in the game. Then you have other ideas, like the mega server idea that Asmongold keeps mentioning in the last few live stream reactions he's done.
One thing I really want to see more of is, or I really hope it's going to happen, is that we get the opportunity to have one big server. Because I think that all of this really cool stuff only really works whenever it's a massive online shared experience. Like, even if it's layered, that's fine. Yeah, mega servers.
Mega servers work fine when an MMO is heavily instanced and the open world really doesn't matter. But with Ashes, it is all about the open world. How do you have a mega server when players actually own land in the open world? The answer is you don't. It simply doesn't work at all. I could easily expand upon this and give 50 more reasons why Ashes does not work with a mega server, but I don't want to make an hour-long video. Another change some have wanted is a competitive PvE raiding scene that mimics, you guessed it, World of Warcraft. Well, again, Ashes has most of their bosses in the open world. It is very hard to have incredibly difficult and fair raids when the bosses are open world. You cannot control how many players fight the boss. You cannot control another group interfering with a group that is fighting the boss. So Ashes could have competitive PvE, but it will be completely different from the competitive PvE of theme parks, and it does involve the potential for PvP. An open world with risk to reward is a core pillar of this game. The core pillar is not changing. Steven has said this repeatedly. And then you have another hot topic recently, which has been the art style or art direction.
I think that, again, like, the one challenge that I think Ashes of Creation has right now is how can they make a game that whenever you look at it, you know that it's Ashes of Creation? Because that's a problem that a lot of these, like, more realistic MMOs have, is that their design is kind of generic. Do you see what I'm saying? It's all coming together. Yeah, it's the identity. Like, it needs to have, like, a visual identity. Like, for example, Valorant has a very strong visual identity. World of Warcraft, very strong visual identity. Let's see. I mean, there's a million games I could give, right? And Vampire Survivors, very strong visual identity. RuneScape, yep, there you go. Overwatch, yeah, they're all stylized. And I think that's a big challenge that realistic games have, is how can they have that same type of identity?
Again, comparisons to a game that uses a cartoony style, which is almost always stylized, versus a realistic art style, which is by definition not meant to be stylized. These comparisons just do not work. I know people say art and graphics are a preference, but I'm going to be honest, WoW's graphics are just pure laziness by the developers. I think they made sense at the time, when computers were not near as powerful and the internet was not near as robust. But in the modern era, I'm not sure that that graphic style is necessary for an MMO at all anymore. And there are many, many other systems that really cannot be changed without drastically changing the game. Steven wants the distances to matter, so if they suddenly change the game to allow for more fast travel, or allow you to fast travel while carrying materials, that would ruin the regionalized economy, where some materials have different values in different parts of the world. And it would completely negate caravans as a necessary system. Some changes just are not possible because of how the game is designed. Intrepid, of course, does want feedback, but they're always having to sift through the constant streams of feedback that will never ever work for this game. And they've been extremely consistent with the core design pillars of this game and have said repeatedly that their core design philosophy is never changing. Let Ashes be Ashes. If you want PvE servers, or if you want mega servers, plenty of those games exist, go play those. Let us finally get something different. I'm going to end with Steven sharing his thoughts on the core design pillars and why they will never change. Thanks for watching, guys.
It's important to remember that the identity of what Ashes of Creation's core philosophical tenet is risk versus reward. And what that means is, while we will refine systems, we will iterate on systems, but we will never change the core identity of the intent and philosophical approach to what Ashes of Creation as an MMO brings to the MMO genre space that is not currently represented, or that has been a while since a game has represented it. And while the discussion is healthy and we want to make sure that we are relaying accurate and informed opinions to the broader community who might be less involved in following Ashes of Creation, we don't want to make assumptions. We don't want to relay information that's not accurate. We don't want to relay that intent that's not accurate. What we want to do is express that Ashes of Creation is endeavoring to build a risk versus reward centric PvX style game. And that intent and purpose will be delivered upon, and it will not change. We will fine tune, we will test, we will ensure that we reach the goals of the intent of these systems, but that core philosophy will stay the same.